Hello, Airtable community. I'm Alex McDonnell, Director of Product Marketing here at Airtable. I'm thrilled to welcome you to today's stream. We're going to be building a few AI apps together. We have a variety of different use cases, different applications that are all directly inspired by what our amazing customers have been building with Airtable. So whether you are newer to the platform, maybe even first time seeing Airtable today, or you've been using it for a while and now starting to get to know some of the new AI capabilities with Omni and field agents, there will be something good in store for you to be sure. Let's jump right into the product. We're going to spend basically all of our time today directly in the product, just building together, showing you different things you can do with Omni and field agents. Omni that you're looking at here is your expert AI collaborator within Airtable. Omni can help you build out your apps, iterate on those apps, analyze the data within those apps, and much more. We're going to see a lot of that in action today. And then when we get inside the apps, we're going to talk more about field agents. Before we start building, let me just quickly touch on the concept of an AI app. So, anytime basically you're working with AI as part of a business process, something that's recurring, something that needs to occur across a large data set, that is probably a good fit for an AI app as opposed to doing that through an AI chat experience. So AI chat tools are awesome for one-off kind of individual smaller productivity gains. But as soon as you find yourself doing the same type of action generation analysis through a chat more than once, as soon as you're doing it twice, 10 times, or let alone into the scale of 100 or 1,000 times, that is probably best designed as an AI app to power a recurring business process. So I'm going to just quickly preview a few things that we have in store for you today. So the first thing we're going to look at is an AI-powered product catalog. It's going to look something like this. We're going to have a complete data set of different products for, let's say, an e-commerce company or retailer. We're going to look at how AI operating across that entire data set can help us generate content, analyze images, generate new images, and even generate entire landing pages, as you see here, for every product in our catalog. That's going to be our first stop. We will also look at what we can do with enriching data about people and companies in Airtable. So from a data set of just a set of people's names, let's go search the web and learn everything we can about them, their company, recent news, and then use that to power a workflow, perhaps inviting them to an event or even introducing them to other peers within a network. We're also going to look at deep analysis that's going to be powered by Omni. So we have a data set here of call transcripts that are each, representing an entire conversation between maybe a salesperson and a customer, a goldmine of product and customer insights, but way too dense for anyone to read even a sample of them, let alone all of them. And Omni is going to help us make sense of that. We'll also look at document analysis-based workflows, where we are uploading documents in the case, for this example, of investment deal flow, where we have a variety of documents that are helping us make an investment decision. And we're going to see how field agents can help us make sense of those documents, and actually will be citing their sources along the way. So it's extracting the data from that document into a structured format, and then helping us make an analytical decision or business decision based on what comes out of it. And then depending on time, maybe even a couple more. So let's go back to Omni first of all. And we'll start Omni off here with a very simple prompt. So again, let's imagine we are on the product merchandising team at a retailer, maybe an e-commerce company. And we heard that Airtable is potentially a good fit for acting as our product catalog. So let's ask Omni to help us get started on that. I'll drop in this very, very simple prompt for Omni, and we're going to see it get to work. So we've just said, build a product catalog where we can store a variety of information about each product. And then potentially, let's see what we can do with generating images showing those products in different contexts. So we're going to see Omni go to work and understand the intent behind our request here. So we talked about this concept of an AI app and how it represents this sort of more durable and recurring way to bring AI into your work as opposed to one-off chats. The key layers that we're seeing created here right in front of us of that AI app are the data layer, the logic and workflow layer, and then the interface layer. And Omni is starting off here with that data layer. So we're going to have a series of tables within our app, fields within those tables. Some of those fields have the special property of actually containing AI agents within them. Those are what we call field agents. And we're going to talk more about those once we get into the actual app here, once Omni is done with its initial creation. Omni's filling out the tables also with sample data so we can get a sense of how this would all work together. Let's see where it goes next here. This is hands-off keyboard from me. Of course, we're just watching Omni create this initial version of this app. And then it has also gone here, it looks like, and created some interfaces for us. So let's take a tour through this app once Omni is done adding its final touches. There we go. And then we will start to build out some of our own field agents as well, because I want you to really understand how these things come together under the hood. So we can start off with Omni's suggestion here of taking a quick tour. And this will serve to introduce us to kind of the key layers of an AI app and start to build that understanding for all of you on how this is different from working with AI in just a one-off chat experience. So as we mentioned, we're starting in the data layer here. This is where all our info lives. We have, in this case, tables for products, product images, and then a couple other, looks like supporting tables that Omni has come up with for us based on that very short initial prompt. Interfaces then is where we actually present, visualize this data for our teams. So this is another key sort of differentiating aspect of AI apps, that it's not just a one-person individual experience. This is a durable app that is collaborative, managed, governed across our organization. And the interfaces within that app allow us to present the information in the app to different teammates in different ways. So that'll be good for now. Thank you, Omni, for that initial tour. From here, I'm actually going to switch over to a simplified version of this product catalog app, because what I want to do for educational purposes here on this live stream is actually build out some of these field agents together. So Omni created a really powerful kind of starting point for that app. It was quite complete with data and interfaces. So now what we're looking at is a kind of stripped down starting point for our product catalog. And we're going to build out a series of field agents that will help us work with this data in some pretty compelling, novel ways. So all we have here to start is a data set of products that each have a name and what we would call an on-white image. So just the product here with no kind of context or setting around it, just on that white background. The first thing we want to do is add some field agents that build out more of a description of each project, of each product, excuse me. So the same way we can add any other type of field to our tables in Airtable. So just to show you some simple examples, maybe we have product categories, and we of course could manually assign those category 1, category 2, maybe it's like home goods, apparel, whatever. And this is kind of baseline database functionality that you have here in Airtable to be able to organize your data, in this case, a product catalog. Where things get really exciting, though, is with fields that actually kind of populate themselves. And we call those field agents. So you can literally think of this as an AI agent living right within that field. So let's really inspect what these things are and how they work. So this first field agent we're going to create is going to give us an image description. I'm going to call this the kind of like objective description, because we're also going to create one that is more of like a copywriter for each of these products. We have a variety of tools that we can give this field agent access to. So we can give it internet access. We can give it access to files in our Google Drive or OneDrive. For now, we're going to leave those off. And then we're going to give our agent some instructions. Now, the best way to do this, you can always, of course, have total control over the exact prompt that goes into that agent and that instructs it. But what you can also do is use AI to write instructions for AI. So when you come down here and hit Edit with AI, what we're going to do is just describe in kind of a simple, plain language intent what we want this field agent to do. And it's going to perform that action across this entire column for every record in the database. So let's put in our intent here. So we're going to ask for write an objective, detailed description of the product pictured. And we'll update the agent. And we're actually going to see, based on that short one sentence description of what we want this agent to do, we're going to see a much more detailed and thorough set of instructions are generated right here within custom instructions. The key part of configuring your field agents is setting up the inputs to each field agent. And we're also going to see how these can kind of chain together. So the outputs of one field agent become the inputs of the next. But for our very first one here, we're just going to pass in the image. So what's happened here in these custom instructions is we've said we want you to write this detailed objective description of what is in that image. And this little variable, this little pill right here, represents this actual image from the adjacent column being passed into this prompt. So let's go ahead and create this field agent right now. You'll see that the first 10 records will always run automatically, and that serves as a preview for you to see if you're getting the outputs that you want from your field agent. You can either run your field agents manually or have them set to run automatically. And so just like that was maybe 5 seconds, we have now performed this action, this very specific action that we were able to completely define down to the prompt across every record in our database. This is the core concept, the core sort of moment that I want everyone to understand with field agents, as opposed to having to do this kind of one-off through chats or some sort of more ad hoc way of working every time. This is the power of AI applied with structure, applied into the structure of a database, and with your own business data, with your own business context. And this is just the beginning. This is just the very basic concept of what a field agent can do. So next, let's start to chain these together. So let's actually take the output of our objective description and use that to write a more sort of copywriting style description here. So let's say copywriter, this is going to be our product description. And then let's do the same thing here. Let's ask Edit with AI to write a product description in the style of a world-class, retail or consumer copywriter. And we'll go ahead and ask the agent to write its own instructions for how it's going to go about doing that. And so this is going to give us content that is generated as part of kind of like a chain or a workflow. So first we had the input image, then we created this objective description that tells us kind of plainly what we're looking at here. And then we're going to create this, this objective description, the copywriting description. And again, I have full control over what's going into the prompt here. So in this case, I want the name. And then I also want to take that image description from the previous step and pass it in here as input. So the output of our first field agent now becomes the input of the next. I'll also give that, that image to this field agent as well. So I've given it the name, I've given it the description from the first field agent, and I've given it that image. So let's now have this field agent run. And so we're starting to build out here like this database that populates itself. It's a very powerful concept once you start to see the different types of data that can be generated where one output is passing into the next input. And again, just the beginning here. Let's continue as that copywriter goes to work. Let's now generate some images. So you can generate images here in Airtable just from text to a totally new image. Where we're seeing a lot of excitement from our customers is going from image to image. So kind of one version of maybe a particular product shot or a marketing image or ad to another version of that, again, at scale. So not just one-off through a chat, but at scale across every record in the database. Taylor, you asked, can you type prompts in natural language or do you need to code it in that way? So everything you're seeing me input here is 1 to 2 sentences of just natural language, just describing our intent for how the agent should work or how the app should be created. And there's no sort of need to interact with anything resembling code or anything overly technical. If you are comfortable getting really specific and very detailed with your prompts, the sky is the limit with how much detail and specificity you want to put into those custom instructions. But I want to show you the core concepts today so you can sort of reason about how they all fit together. So coming back to our image generation agent here, what I want to do is now create lifestyle shots. So rather than just seeing the product sort of without any context or setting or without like a model or anything to sort of put it into a realistic setting, let's actually transform that image into something new. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to ask for generate a lifestyle image of the product provided. And that's pretty vague, but we have some brand guidelines here. So this is a full Google Doc for a fictional brand that describes how this brand represents itself, both in sort of very literal terms like color, typography, as well as more abstract or subjective terms like context and style. And so what we're going to do, coming back to our product catalog here, is say we're going to insert this directly in the prompt, and we're going to say, describe the or present the product in the style of this brand. And so what we'll do here is insert the brand guidelines right here. Literally just take a Google Doc link, drop that in, and then we have created our next field agent. And so have a look here. We're now, let me just collapse our text-based field agents down because we've kind of got the core idea of what those do. But now we are generating images in bulk at scale with specific context from our brand, how we want to present ourselves at the scale of everything in our database. So these images take a moment to generate. In preparation, I did have a little test run at this. And so I'll bring that one over here. I'll just mark it accordingly. So this was the prepped version. But look what's happening here. So for every single record, every single product, I'll click into one record of one product here. We have this on-white product shot and name. That was our only input. We then generated an image analysis that describes that product in objective terms. We then had a copywriter go in, and we have full control, again, as a reminder, of the specific instructions, the specific prompt that we want to provide to that field agent every time. We then took that input and or that output rather, and used it as input into field agents that are generating images as well. So generating an entire sort of lifestyle shot using our brand guidelines, using some of that copy that we've written in previous steps as well. And then look here, if I go extra tall, you can see here as I scroll down, we've generated these lifestyle type images, and they've stayed very faithful to the actual source shot. If I do a few comparisons here of the product in that on white background. So start to think about what could you do across an entire data set if you could perform AI actions like this, whether it's generating content, analyzing content, images, across everything, not just one-off chats, but across an entire column and across an entire data set like this. What becomes possible in your workflow? So there is those images coming in, just so you have a sense of the total generation time. That was maybe about 2 minutes from creating that field agent to then generating these shots across every image in the catalog. To really kind of put the exclamation mark on this now, the last field agent I want to show for product catalog is building entire web pages. So we have another type of field agent here. This one is newer to the platform, where you can create an entire web prototype, an entire web page embedded directly into each record. So for this one, I'm going to call this landing page per product, let's say. And same thing, I'm going to edit my field agent with AI here. I'm going to say generate a landing page in the style of a kind of, let's say, like clean, minimalist e-commerce retailer for each product. And this one, giving me an error at the moment, I'm going to just do this directly. So let's say, again, we would say generate a landing page for each product in the style of a e-commerce home goods retailer. And then again, same core idea here. We have our instructions within our field agent, and then we provide context. So product name is going to be brought in as that variable here. So again, what's happening is across every record, this little pill, this little variable is actually literally getting replaced with the data from that record. Let's actually include the lifestyle image as well. We're going to have 2 here because we created that twice. We'll also bring in our description. We'll use the one that was created by our copywriter agent. Copywriter. Cool. And then again, same core idea across every single record. We are generating what was first text, then image, now entire web prototypes. And I'm going to do the same thing that I did before because these ones do take a moment to generate. So rather than just sit there and watch them, you'll see how long they do end up taking. But look here. So every single record now has a full interactive web product page associated with it. And in this case, this is the on-white images, but it's got the descriptions and the names and all that other content that we generated per record. So again, what a powerful way to apply AI in a few different forms across the scale of your entire data set, generating text, generating images, generating entire web landing pages as well. So that is our first stop, our first example with a product catalog and showing how field agents combined with Omni for app creation start to actually create some pretty powerful structure for working with AI across the scale of our entire data set. Let's move on next to our next example, which is working with people and company data. So for this one, we're going to start to give our field agents access to the web. And so we saw an example of giving our field agents access to Google Drive before, same core idea. So let me do a few things here. This is what the finished product is going to look like. So we're going to have a data set of people and of companies that we are going to enrich with information from the web and showing how we can kind of get there and actually take action with that information as well. So for demo and education purposes, let me actually strip this right down, just hide all these fields here. And let's imagine that we are literally just starting with a list of names and we have to kind of enrich everything else. Let's bring back company also as well. So we have name and company. For this example, now there may be many different reasons why you want to enrich people and company data. Let's imagine we are hosting an event. And so maybe these people have registered for our event, or we'd like to get them to register for our event. And we need to enrich the information that we have about them in order to do that so we can provide the best possible event experience. So let's do a simple one first. Let's generate a bio. By the way, I've shown how you can create field agents through sort of directly adding that field, placing it within our structure of our database. You can also do this through Omni. So I showed Omni at the very beginning for creating that entire app from scratch. Omni also stays with you to continue to iterate on your app. And that can mean adding field agents, adding other fields, adding interfaces, and much more. So for Omni here, let's add a bio using web search for every person in the people table. And Omni is a great way to add to your app when you have maybe an intent for what you want the action or the structure of your app to be, but maybe you're not sure exactly where in Airtable or how that should be set up. Omni is excellent at taking a short description, a short sentence of your intent and applying it into this sort of canvas of Airtable. So what's really powerful here is we've combined the kind of the magic of just describing your intent to an AI agent such as Omni and having that kind of appear right in front of you, but with the point and click, drag and drop, direct editing experience that Airtable has always been known for. Now, in this case, I should have deleted my other bio field because Omni intelligently actually recognized that it is already there. So Omni, had this bio field not existed, would have created me a field that looks like this. And then again, look what's happening here. So let's actually inspect what's going on within our bio field agent. So for every person in the database, We now have this internet search tool turned on. We also have it set to run automatically. We can choose what model, if we have a preference or if certain models are better at certain tasks. That's also built right in here within Airtable. So you're always benefiting from the innovation from different model providers. And same core idea here. We have a set of custom instructions given to this field agent to go out and search the web about every person in our data set here. And in this case, we've just provided that simple input of their name. Omni is going to come back with that full output of that bio, and you see it coming in here behind the modal. We also, as we're configuring our field agent, we get this preview of what the output would be and the estimated AI credits for each record. So now things get really interesting because not only are we just generating and working with content within our data set, we're now bringing in content from elsewhere. And once you start doing that, it becomes really important to know where it's coming from. So we have now generated these concise bios for everybody within our data set here. And for each of them, now these are pretty prominent people, but this also works with less famous people. It has gone out and found sources on the web that we can actually inspect and click into directly to understand where this information came from. So it's a core principle for us, whether you're working with Omni, field agents, to always be able to inspect those citations from anything that is AI generated. So you never just have to kind of take AI's word for it. You can always go in and inspect those citations yourself. So that is our first field agent for this use case, just that simple bio. Let's now also, and I'm going to remember to remove it this time. So let's remove our news summary here from the company table, and we will remove it here as well. So let's actually ask Omni to add it this time for us. So the next thing, we've got the individual bios for the people. Let's now also bring in some recent company news. So same idea here, asking Omni, add a field agent that searches the web and brings in 3 recent company news stories for each company. So again, think about trying to do this without a format like an AI app like you're seeing here in Airtable. If you're doing this with an AI chat, maybe that's going to require just kind of having the same type of chat over and over. We're well past the world of kind of trying to do this sort of thing manually and just searching through every company and copying and pasting links, let alone trying to actually make sense of them. But look what's happening here. So just as quickly as that, Omni has looked at our companies table here and decided that that is the right place for our next field agent, which is pulling in recent news stories. As that field agent gets to work, let me touch on a core Airtable concept, and again, why it is such a great sort of form factor or vehicle for applying AI, and that is how this data is structured and connected. So in this app, we now have 2 tables. We have a people table, and a companies table. They are linked together. So people are associated with a company. This is not just the text of the name of the company, it's actually a reference to that record. And so by structuring and connecting our data like this, it gives us such a rich canvas to apply AI against, because we can sort of perform that action once on the appropriate table and then refer to it from many other places. So what we're about to do now is take, as soon as this field agent completes here, all of the recent news stories from the companies table, bring them over to the people table, and then generate some invitations for people to attend this event. So even as that field agent is working here, I'm going to add a lookup. I'm going to bring over from the companies table the recent news stories. And so now that information, as soon as those field agents are complete with their work, we've given them kind of a tall task here, so hopefully that doesn't take too much longer. That will all get populated here on the people table. And then we're going to set this up while we're waiting for those news stories to come in. We're going to actually generate invitations for each of them. And so this is going to be our invite. And let's use that same technique before of giving our field agent access to Google Drive so that it can refer to some important context that we need it to reference here. So we're going to be inviting all these people to events. We want to frame our invitation around things that we know are top of mind for them, which is going to come through that recent news. But we also need to give our field agent some context on what exactly this event is. And so rather than try to cram that all into the prompt directly, we've been working on an event brief with our team, and we have all this information here already. So again, same idea. Let's just take this link here to Google Drive, and let's say write let's call it sort of informal, personable email invite to the event for each person. And I'm going to make reference to the event brief. The event brief is here. Pull in relevant details. And I'll drop in that link directly to that file on Google Drive. And because that Google Drive tool is turned on, this field agent is now able to get richer and richer context for us. And I see I'm still sharing that doc. There we go. So now I'm back into the field agent here. I've given this field agent reference to that specific document on Google Drive. Here's the link. And then we're going to come through here and give it its inputs. We're going to say, here's the name of the person. And here are the recent news items. And we'll just, again, make reference to that field. I'll also include that as part of the instructions. I'll say, make reference to recent news and connect it to the content of the event. Cool. So let's generate that field agent now. So again, our recent news stories are taking a little longer than I'd hoped. Let's see if we can get at least a couple of them in here. So for Atlassian, here we are, or Amazon, here we go. So for at least a couple of our records here, we've got those recent news stories in. So those have come through as a few crisp bullet points here. And then we have this invite that is created. So again, have a look at the chain of events here. So we had for each of these individuals where we just started off with their name and company, a full bio, we pulled in recent news stories for their company, and then we wrote up that invite for them as well. To put a kind of finishing touch on this one, there's a couple other interesting things we can do. So another type of field agent, the same way we've seen field agents that generate text, image, prototypes, is generating references to other records. And so we have another special type of field agent here that is using what we call a deep match. And so across our entire data set, this field agent is going to look for matches for a given record based on its instructions. And in this case, I'm going to say, hey, if this is the full list of people attending this event, for each attendee, look across that data set and recommend 3 other people that this attendee should meet. And so again, it's not just returning text here, it's returning an actual reference to that record. And so we see that using that bio and using that company background, it has come up with names of people that it thinks would be relevant for that individual to meet. So very, very powerful. Again, applying AI, not just in the context of a one-off chat, but in the context of structured data with your business context. A couple other things to complete our tour through this app. We talked about using AI to generate images. You can also use your field agents to simply retrieve images from the web. And so for every person in this data set, I have asked a field agent to go and find a professional headshot, and then it will come through and return that headshot for everyone in our data set. So a nice visual touch on that as well. Now, we spent most of our time so far in what we would call the data layer because we wanted to get familiar with that core concept of field agents, how it's applying AI actions, generations, analysis through the entire scope of our data set. Interfaces is another really exciting component of an AI app. So interfaces is where, I'll close Omni for a second here. We actually have different ways of presenting our data to stakeholders. And you can get very, very specific with how you want to present and manipulate and work with that data, all the way to the level of entirely custom interfaces. So again, sticking with the example of planning an event here, I actually asked Omni, and I'll show you how this works in a second, to create for me a drag and drop seating chart interface where I can take all of my guests and I can just drag them into these different round tables for our event. and determine where I want everyone to sit, maybe using those recommendations from field agents on how different people might be able to connect with one another or who might be relevant for others to meet. So this is the actual viewer experience now of this app. So this is where I might sort of present to my team, hey, here's how we're progressing with attendees, here's who's confirmed, and here's where even literally everyone is going to sit. Back in the editing experience, the way that this comes together is through Omni. We would ask for a custom interface element. And so we would select a tool here. This is in early access. So if you are already using Airtable and you are set up within the tool, if you head to your workspace settings as an admin, you can turn on AI Labs and get access to a few tools that we're going to show here. So generating an interface element. And we would ask Omni, again, just with very simple statement of intent, build a seating chart interface where I can drag and drop people into 5 round tables of 8 seats each. And just from a simple description of intent such as that, that's what I used to create the seating chart interface that you just saw. Now, generating these does take a moment. So rather than sit through the generation and then potentially need to do some iteration, I wanted to just show you the actual finished product. So that's the type of custom interfaces you can create. I'll show you 1 or 2 more as we go here. And that is how you create them with Omni. So moving to our next example, we talked through how to create entire apps with Omni, how to enrich and essentially have the data within that app build out and populate itself with field agents. I want to now show you another side of Omni, which is what you can do with analysis. So in this app, we have brought in all of our call transcripts, fictional data here, but every single record in this table now represents a detailed call transcript. So the actual full text of calls between salespeople and a customer, which would be such a gold mine if we all had the time to read it, whether you're maybe on a product team or marketing team or you're a sales leader looking for patterns across all customers. But of course, nobody does. So what's happening in this app is we have taken that transcript, the full text of that transcript as our input. And then I'll go a little bit quicker here now that you have the concept of field agents in your mind. We have field agents here that are categorizing the segment or type of this customer. We have a field agent that is returning the feature requests that each customer has made on that call. And I'll show you what it looks like when they're generating, right? When you're actually running this across all calls, just to give you a sense of what's happening. Every single call has this field agent running. Customer pain points, competitor mentions, other unmet needs, sentiment, descriptions of use cases. It goes on and on. The number of different things that you may want to extract per call can be supported here with field agents. But what about looking for patterns across all calls? So let's ask Omni to help us out with that. So we're going to say, what are the top unmet needs for customers in the mid-market segment? Include details about or details in such as customer quotes. So I want the actual verbatim language, as well as revenue estimated impact or estimated revenue impact, let's say. Omni is going to go and perform a deep, detailed analysis. And there's actually another early access tool in AI Labs called Reports through Omni that is going to give us this as a really crisp and shareable artifact. So I'll talk you through what's actually happening here as Omni goes to work. It is looking, as the name Omni implies, across everything, across all of the data within the app to make its judgment about what needs to happen here. And I'll expand its thinking process so you can really see it here in real time. And that didn't take too long. Omni didn't actually give me much time to wind up on what it's doing there. And it has already created this report. So it has gone and actually parsed through all the data from different call transcripts, all the data that field agents helped extract and structure, and created this executive ready report for the top unmet needs, including the qualitative factors with customer quotes, as well as quantitative factors like estimated revenue impact. It would give us as a product team, let's say, a real massive head start and advantage in understanding where our next bet should be placed. And once it's finished with the generation here, you're again going to see those citations come through. So I never just have to kind of take Omni's word for it that that was that indeed the top pattern, or that there was a customer that was asking for that, but those citations are always going to be present. So call transcripts is just such a great example of the scope and depth and type of analysis that you can perform with Omni. And again, this is uniquely possible in the context of an AI app. To try to do that kind of thing through just a chat modal sort of interface is going to be quite limiting. But when you have your data structured in this format, you have Omni that is sort of purpose built for looking across all of that structure. You have field agents helping reinforce that structure as well. This is the kind of work that becomes possible. So we've talked through creating apps, adding field agents to those apps, analyzing the data in those apps. Let me now also show you a couple other capabilities of these field agents, and particularly around document analysis, where we've been seeing a lot of interest from customers. But let's have a look here at folks in the chat. Let's see what questions people have. So one question: are the apps working only with OpenAI, ChatGPT, or with other models as well? Great question. So let me jump back into the chat right here. And when I'm configuring one of these field agents, you will see that you have the option to choose between models from all of the leading providers down to the individual model level. And so if you are finding that one model outperforms another for your particular task, you can continue to choose that. If your tasks are simpler, you can go with a low cost and typically faster option as well. If they're more complex and they require a little more power, like summarizing entire call transcripts or 100-page documents, the more frontier models will probably be your best bet. But you see the variety in here from Amazon, Google, IBM, Meta, Anthropic, and OpenAI, all available. And so with Airtable being model agnostic, it again is another reason why it's such an effective deployment layer for these models in your work. Anytime there's an innovation from any of these model providers and they're kind of one-upping each other, deploying them through Airtable allows you to take advantage of that innovation simply by swapping one model out for another within your workflow. So great question. How often does the agent refresh its data? So you can either set your agent to be refreshed manually or to run automatically. Run automatically triggers whenever its inputs change. So for each field agent, you've seen me here setting some particular inputs. So what you'll see here, let's show an example, a simple one. So let's take this customer segment one. It is set to run automatically. Its inputs include the full transcript here. So the transcript wouldn't change, but if I were to make a change to the transcript just to generate an example here, you'll see that those field agents that were set to run automatically did change. So you can either have full control and only ever run them manually, or have them set to run whenever the inputs change. Great questions. Cool. Okay, let's keep rolling to some of the document analysis pieces. So this is an example inspired by a real customer who is using Airtable to manage investment opportunities in sustainable energy projects. And so imagine you are evaluating like multi-million, tens of millions of dollars worth of potential investment opportunities in things like solar farms. Incredibly dense amounts of documents and information are going to go into making that decision. And to sort of sit there and read through these piles of documents across many different investment opportunities, not only is going to be slow, but is going to be error prone and potentially risks missing some very important factors. So let's take a, again, fictional document and directly upload it to Airtable here and watch what happens. This example is a technical due diligence document for something like a solar farm. I'll hit upload here. And now again that you have familiarized yourself with this core concept of field agents, you'll have an appreciation for what happens here. So once this document is uploaded, all these field agents right here are going to get to work. And these have been set up to actually reflect some of the key data points that are very unique and specific to this workflow. We've had a ton of interest and usage in document analysis capabilities in Airtable. And the kind of the core concept of what's happening here is that we are turning documents into data. Once you have that, you can then build workflows, build further analysis on top of that data. But that first step is absolutely huge, to go from this unstructured, essentially unusable format in terms of like a business process or data, a PDF, and then turn it into this structured data. If you saw how quick that was, we pulled in these technical risk factors. We pulled in some particular data points, maybe cost points as well. And then you see this little field agent icon with the citation right here. Again, that core idea that you never have to just trust AI's work and take its word for it. I can click into every single one of these field agents and say, where exactly in the document did that information come from, and verify that for myself. So you can imagine this happening across several projects, as you've seen, right? We've seen how field agents apply across every record in a database, across several documents for each one. So again, in this example here is a financial document as well that we're pulling out different data points from. And then not only are we just extracting that data from the document, we're using it to help improve our judgments. And so we've now taken all of that data and said, hey, a field agent, go and trained and sort of instructed based on all of our investing criteria, all the risk factors from past projects that we've known to be critical, go and do an assessment on all this data from the documents and tell us where the most critical risk factors are. So literally in seconds there, from raw kind of unusable documents, unstructured information, just text, dropped into Airtable, converted into usable business data, and then not just extracted in kind of a copy paste way, but actually presenting a judgment of a series of risks that may be presented in this project. We can also combine in web search, right? So we saw web search in action from the people and company enrichment example. Imagine here we are considering investing in this project, and we know the supplier is let's say a Chinese company. Jinko Solar is the name of a supplier for solar panels. And we have instructed this field agent right here, this is kind of mind-blowing, to go search the web, including in Chinese. Like I don't speak Chinese. I wouldn't have been able to go and understand these sources or what risks might be presented. It's gone and returned several sources to tell us about risks that are further up in the supply chain for this project. So again, enriching data, searching the web, particularly on companies or people, we're seeing a lot of applications for that, bringing that into the picture as part of our risk assessment. And then as kind of a fun exclamation point on this one, I showed you that web prototype field agent that created the product landing pages for every product in the product catalog. We're also seeing some customers use that to create almost like more interactive and more readable reports. So again, we're talking about a lot of dense information here with our investment criteria. Can we present that in a way that is more scannable and readable, maybe for a managing partner or a decision maker who's going to be looking at this information? We can do that as an actual web page right here in Airtable at the scale of our data. So really, really incredible what's possible when you start to think about, okay, what are the data points that are trapped in documents in my workflow? What needs to come in from the web? What do I need to do over and over in terms of content generation, analysis, image generation? And then what are some of the more compelling, unique visual ways that I can present that data? Could be something like a seating chart like we saw, could be a more interactive report or dashboard as well. So one more example to kind of kickstart your inspiration right there. All right, and then one last one, staying on the topic of really compelling visual ways to present your information in Airtable. Let's switch contexts here to the setting of a media company. And let's say that we'll go back to the data layer. You were just looking at the interface layer there, but let's go back to the data layer. Let's say you have data that you are tracking for a variety of media types in your catalog. Let's say you have movies, TV shows, and podcasts. Each of those are different tables within your Airtable app, and they're structured differently because you care about different data points for each of those types of properties. And the metrics that matter are also different for each of them. So let's create an executive dashboard that actually presents the appropriate metrics for each of those media types. And let's actually have some fun with the visuals here. Let's sort of do it in the style of like a streaming service homepage. So if you remember how we did the seating chart, same idea here. We're going to ask Omni to generate an interface element for us. And it's going to not only kind of work with the interface types that are already built into Airtable, but it's going to recognize that it needs to create something totally new. So let's say generate a dashboard for a media executive that presents the key metrics for movies, TV shows, and podcasts in I would call it like a grouped gallery view in the style of a streaming service homepage. And again, every prompt you've seen me write today, whether it's for Omni or for field agents, I've biased towards simple kind of 1 sentence, 2 sentence prompts that are just describing my intent. And Omni and field agents are really, really good at interpreting that intent and understanding, what needs to happen next. And they're very autonomous in that way. Where you need to, or where you would like to, you can also get super, super detailed. So you can use AI to write better prompts. You can get hyper specific in the changes that you want to make or the actions you want to see performed. And then again, so for something like this is actually not a built-in Airtable interface. Omni recognized what data was available to it and the best possible way to present that data given the intent that came through in my request. And it actually coded this interface for us on the fly. So you can actually click into any of these and get all of the data associated with that record. But look, we are surfacing different kind of tables worth of information. We have movies, TV shows, and podcasts, each on their own row. We're surfacing different metrics that matter for each of them. So box office revenue in the case of movies, viewership per episode in the case of TV shows, and so on. So between applying field agents with structure and with kind of that recurring nature inside of your database, both across every record, so kind of top to bottom, as well as chaining their outputs together. So taking the generation of one field agent and using that as input into the next, chaining those into workflows, presenting your data in very visual, unique, bespoke, interactive ways through actual web pages and prototypes per record, or through custom interfaces like this one. I hope I've given you a sense today of how AI apps can be this incredibly powerful vehicle or canvas for applying AI in your workflows with structure in new ways, going beyond what's possible with just individual chats and giving you this very powerful canvas for applying AI across entire data sets, across entire workflows, across departments. I'm happy to stick around if folks have a few more questions or want to poke at anything that we showed today. And then we'll wrap up in a few minutes here. But jump into the chat if you have any other questions. Now is the time. As we recap here, we showed this product catalog where just from names and basic product images, we generated content such as descriptions, we generated lifestyle shots, and even full landing pages for every product. We showed how we can enrich company and people data as well. We showed how we can analyze call transcript data with full-on executive-ready reports with an incredible depth of qualitative information that would be otherwise completely inaccessible, document analysis and web research through investment deal flows, and then kind of finishing off with very unique, bespoke ways to present your data through dashboards. Taylor has a question. Do field agents have memory or context? As an example, if I tell one field not to use M dashes, will it remember that across others? Great question. So if I go into the field agents that we set up for our product catalog, for example, let's go to the copywriter. The best way to do that would be to have it kind of instructed explicitly within the prompt here, within custom instructions. So I would just basically say, do not use M dashes for your example here. And then it's going to apply that instruction across every record in that column. If you're also looking to like never use M dashes across any field agent, the most direct and explicit way to do that would be to make sure that it is indeed in every field agent. and then that will be applied. But as far as the top to bottom piece, once that instruction is encoded into the custom instructions for that field agent that you just saw me click into up here, that will be applied across. Actually, you see a couple here. This one has an M dash. Let's rerun it with the new instructions. Let's see how it does. Same with this one right here. And we should see that the M dashes have been removed. So the idea is you have to kind of just encode those instructions once for the whole field agent, and then it will apply that across every record. Hope that helps, Taylor. Cool. Well, if no other questions, we will end it there and look forward to seeing what everybody creates with Airtable. Until next time.